Hello students, let us explore a few of the chemical reactions what are given in the textbook. And before that, let's see the differences between physical and chemical changes. So here, if you look at the differences between physical and chemical changes, you will find physical change, it's a reversible change. As we have seen in case of water, it can be converted into ice and ice can be reverted back into water. Chemical change is irreversible. If you burn a paper, the paper gets into ash and ash cannot be reverted back. Now look at the second point in physical change. It involves changes in texture, size, shape, color, odor, volume, mass, weight, density, state, etc. So these are all the physical characteristic features. So physical change involves changes in the physical characteristic features. Chemical change. It involves change in odor, state, temperature, energy, etc. Here, odor in the sense smell. So these are chemical properties and these undergo change in a chemical reaction. Now, third point in physical changes. No new substance is formed. So there is no new substance formed here, but in a chemical reaction, one or more new products are formed. A change in the composition of matter takes place in a chemical reaction. Change in the composition of matter takes place in a chemical reaction, but there won't be any change in the composition of matter in a physical reaction. Like when we cut the piece of cloth or piece of paper, the paper remains as paper. It will not change. But in a chemical reaction, there is a new product formed. Chemical composition is changing. When you burn a log of wood, it is forming a new material, that is ash or the coal, and also heat released and smoke is also released. Now, next point in physical changes. No chemical reaction takes place. So there is no change in the chemical structure of a material when we are observing any physical change. In a chemical change, a chemical reaction takes place, and along with that, we would observe the new matter produced in the chemical reaction. Now, next point is no energy is given off. In a physical change, no energy is liberated or no energy is absorbed. But in case of a chemical change, light is produced, heat is produced, or sound is produced, and it will result in the formation of a new material. Now, physical changes. The arrangement of atoms remain the same. The atoms always remain the same. Like we know, all the matter is made of molecules. Molecules are made of atoms, and atoms of a matter doesn't change at all. But in case of the chemical reaction, always there is a change in the position of atoms. The atoms of the substance are rearranged. They will be rearranged always. Now, let's look at the other chemical reactions what are given in our textbook. If you take page number 60, here is the experiment of burning magnesium ribbon is explained. And we could see the particular equations what are given for this experiment. And here I have maximized for you. And look at this equation. When magnesium is burnt, it reacts with oxygen in the air and forms magnesium oxide, and there is bright light released. Now here we are mentioning that as energy. You have seen in the experiment already given, and this 2 is given over here. This is for balancing the equation. Balancing of equation you will be learning in your higher classes. Now just learn the chemical change what is occurring, that Mg plus O2 gives rise to MgO plus energy, the bright light what is released out. And now this magnesium can also react with the water to form magnesium hydroxide. So as you have learned in the previous lesson, physical and chemical changes, anywhere hydroxide comes, it's a base. Now here, when it reacts with water, it forms a base, that is magnesium hydroxide with a few hydrogen molecules. Now it also reacts with carbon dioxide to form MgO, magnesium oxide, plus carbon. Now, let's look at the next experiment that is explained in the textbook, page 61. That is, rusting of iron is explained over here. For that, we are taking copper sulfate solution, adding a few drops of dilute sulfuric acid to it, wherein you will form a blue color solution. So this is the blue color solution which is formed. Now separate some amount of it into another beaker. And in the second beaker, you just add a iron nail or a blade in it. So when you add this blade into the beaker, you will see after 30 minutes the change of solution takes place. Why is this change of solution taking place? You have in the textbook the explanation, the reaction over here. So what is that? Copper sulfate here reacts with iron to produce iron sulfate, and copper is produced over here. If you observe the blade has turned into brown, because on the surface of the blade you could see some brown deposit formed. That's what is rust, and this is formed due to chemical reaction in the solution where we kept it. So the copper sulfate reacts with iron to produce iron sulfate, and there is a brown deposit formed on the blade, that is rust. Now let's observe the next experiment, what is explained in textbook. It is also a chemical reaction wherein we take vinegar and mix it with baking soda. When we mix it with baking soda, what happens? When vinegar and baking soda are mixed in a test tube, it produces bubbles. You can see that there is bubbles produced inside here, and these bubbles are nothing but the gas. So this gas, if it is sent into the freshly prepared lime water solution, you would find the lime water getting turned into milky white. So what does this reaction indicate? It's a property of carbon dioxide. When it is passed through lime water, the lime water turns into milky white. Now observe the reaction what is given here. After mixing vinegar and baking soda, we have got carbon dioxide, and we send that into the freshly prepared lime water. And here carbon dioxide, when it is passed through lime water, you would see the formation of calcium carbonate plus water is produced here. So carbon dioxide CO2, lime water is CaOH twice, and the new material formed in this reaction is calcium carbonate, that is CaCO3. So thank you children.